Welcome to Full Frontal. I'm Samantha B. Well, it finally happened. Donald Trump gave Jeff Sessions a sock and set him free.
Breaking news out of Washington today. Just moments ago, Attorney General Jeff Sessions resigning at the request of President Trump.
He wanted to leave to spend more time doing what he loves most, racism. Gosh, things are happening so fast today. Jeff Sessions has already packed up all his things into a thimble and hitched a ride on a bluebird back to the statue of Jefferson Davis where he makes his nest. Rod Rosenstein was also pushed aside today, and Trump's already updating the firmware of Melania's replacement. You know, it's no surprise that there are big personnel changes today. I don't know if you remember, but an election happened yesterday, and the House of Representatives is feeling a little blue.
That the Democrats now control the House is really an earthquake, a political earthquake, an investigative earthquake, and the first time that Donald Trump as president will be accountable to anybody.
Yes, who needs a wave when you can have an earthquake? I wonder how Donald Trump feels about it. Mostly confused.
So if the Republicans won, and let's say we held on by 2 or 1 or 3, we win by 1 or 2 or 3, and you'll have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 even, but it looks like 3. Could be 4, perhaps it could be 2.
I haven't seen Trump struggle with math this much since somebody asked him how many kids he has. Actually, the complicated algorithm he was trying to work out was how many Senate seats the Republican Party gained yesterday in the midterms. Trump appeared at a rare press conference to explain why losing the House was actually good.
It really could be a beautiful bipartisan type of situation. They can look at us, and then we can look at them, and it'll go back and forth, and it'll probably be very good for me politically. And with that, I'll take a few questions if you'd like. Whoa. I didn't know what happened. All right, go ahead, John. That was a lot of hand shooting up so quickly.
I have a question. What happened when he called on Jim Acosta?
Question, if I may ask, on the Russia investigation, are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation? Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them.
No, we should be ashamed of you working for us. Oh, my God. You are at work. This is behavior that would have gotten me fired from Tim Hortons, and they didn't even fire me for turning their donuts into bongs. It does not work. You get too high. That press conference was upsetting to watch, but not as upsetting as it was for this woman.
If I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was
enough.
going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President.
That's enough.
Mr. President,
I hate this job so much. Oh, my God, why am I doing this? This is horrible. And plie. Thank you. Democrats taking control of the House is huge. It means they can try to protect the Mueller investigation, assuming there is one once the new AG tosses all of Mueller's files into a furnace. It means Maxin Waters can subpoena the fuck out of Trump's tax returns. Actually, it means she can subpoena the fuck out of everything he does. She is gonna look under his wig. She's gonna irritate the shit out of him every day we get to watch. And most importantly, taking control of the House means that Democrats can stop Trump's legislative agenda in its tracks. I mean, you can kiss your wall goodbye. Democrats are not gonna give you a goddamn inch, right, guys? Guys?
We will strive for bipartisanship with fairness on all sides. We will have a responsibility to find our common ground where we can. We have a bipartisan marketplace of ideas that makes our democracy strong.
Okay, common ground, and I have to say that. Look, I am really, really glad that the House changed hands, but I have to admit I was a little disappointed at the size of the blue wave. The Democrats took at least 28 seats in the House this time, but Republicans took 63 seats in 2010 because racism is bad, but how dare you give us health care? But there were a lot of good signs for the future last night. For one thing, we just elected a record-breaking number of women to the House.
I just learned Dave Wasserman, who's our expert on the House, says over 100 women have been elected to the House.
For the first time ever?
Yeah.
Hey, wow. That seems like we should have a cake. or something.
Graphic.
Seems like we should do something. What we do have is Lawrence O'Donnell.
Oh my God, we went from getting cake to getting a graphic to getting Lawrence O'Donnell. Last night truly was a roller coaster ride of emotions. What a time to be a woman. Another great thing that happened last night was that 1.4 million people got their right to vote restored. Florida passed Amendment 4, which returned the right to vote to felons, overturning an actual Jim Crow law that was still on the books. Better 50 years late than never. I don't know if that's de-disenfranchisement or re-enfranchisement, but I know it gives me hope, and it's something that should be celebrated. So I'm going to say something that I rarely get to say. Good job, Florida. Now you guys can smugly claim to be better than Kentucky and Iowa, where felons can't ever vote and you can't see Pitbull perform 6 nights a week. On the 7th night, Mr. Worldwide rests. I'm just kidding. He never rests. Pew, 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 pew. Okay. A lot of voters passed amazing ballot initiatives. Idaho, Nebraska, and Utah passed Medicaid expansion. Michigan, Colorado, and Missouri passed redistricting reform to prevent gerrymandering. And Arkansas and Missouri passed minimum wage increases. Turns out, American voters can be pretty progressive when they get to bypass their politicians. Of course, there were some deeply depressing results last night. Iowa Congressman Steve King, the world's only Nazi carved entirely out of butter, won re-election. So did Duncan Hunter, who ran ads calling his Palestinian-American opponent a terrorist. Anyone who was hoping for a resounding renunciation of racism by the American people is going to be disappointed. But if you were honestly hoping for that, I suggest you read literally any book about the American people, including the first one. It would have been great if Democrats had taken the Senate too, but that was never realistic. After all, out of the total major party votes cast in Senate races nationwide last night, Democrats only won 57% of them. Oh, democracy. More of an art than a science. But there were other key victories that weren't front page news. Democrats flipped control of 7 state house chambers and won 16 governor's races. That's going to go a long way toward building an electoral map that doesn't gerrymander Democrats into irrelevance. Last night was a mixed bag, but overall, we should take it as a win. And the Democrats certainly are in typical Democrat fashion.
It's about stopping the GOP and Mitch McConnell's assaults on Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, and the health care of 130 million Americans living with pre-existing medical conditions. Let's hear it more for pre-existing medical conditions.
Democrats, put your hands in the air for pre-existing conditions. You down for PMCs? Even though the odds were stacked against Democrats due to gerrymandering and voter suppression, the fact that they won last night is huge. They did it because of progressive candidates like Stacey Abrams and Beto O'Rourke, even if they didn't cross the finish line themselves. And they did it thanks to black voters, Hispanic voters, and young voters. But this victory is just the start of a much larger fight. Now is the time to work harder than ever to make this country more progressive. And yes, it means a hell of a lot that the Democrats took back the House, but in 2 years, we're coming for another one. We'll be right back.